I guess it would start from when I bought my first condo at 22. That kind of gave me a taste. Like you said, my family does not come from real estate. We've never owned a house or anything. So I was a trainer. I ended up buying a condo when I was in 2000. I was about 22 years old. I bought my first condo, and I bought it at like for 112,000, and within 12 months it was like 240, and I was like, wow. So I had this initial, like, what everyone gets into it for, like, oh my God, this just makes money. This makes you rich.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Never Settle Mindcast. Got a very special guest today, one of my best friends. You know who he is. It's funny, people always say they don't need an introduction, but most of the time those are people who are most worthy of an introduction. Jeff Discher, I'll let him introduce himself. He's a real estate broker, influencer. He's in the game, man. He gets it. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. I've watched you do your podcast a few times, and you've been on mine. Now I've been on yours, so it's cool.
Yeah, we'll just keep it going. We'll just be like weekly guests.
Yeah, just slide him in there.
Hey.
Well, usually I think that when we start talking, we could usually do like freaking 5 podcasts in a row just because they have to tell us to quit. So
it's usually what happens, but when you're just spitting hot fire like Dylon, sometimes, you know.
Okay, here we go.
All right. We're going to keep this thing on track. That's really the challenge is keeping us on track here because we
start reminiscing and talking about old stuff.
But that's what people like to listen to.
I know.
Right?
Good stories.
Yeah.
That's what we're good at.
These young bucks here, they need to learn. So real quick, for the people who may not know you, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're about currently, and then we'll take it back from there.
Word. All right, Jeff Discher. So I'm a real estate broker. I've been practicing here for almost 17 years in San Diego, born and raised. Done a lot of stuff over the time. Right now, though, I guess the most interesting thing I'm doing is, I created this office that we're actually in, which is kind of cool. DGHQ, real estate office, state of the art. I run a real estate team. I have about 9 agents working. My goal with them is to get my agents from 0 to 100K in revenue, in total commissions in their first 12 months. It's kind of my passion now just because I've done it with a series of people and I've seen how I'm able to do it. And, less than probably 3% of agents make that. So for me to do that and be able to get them and actually over the years, implement and pay attention and be aware of the systems that they need to follow, I think in my opinion, because it's worked, to get them to 6 figures. And the cool thing is it's all progressive. I've been doing this for going on my 17th year. And in the beginning, when I first started, I'd still tell some of these young agents, we were just talking about youngsters, that there was no social media.
Yeah.
There was no email, was barely started. It was there, but it wasn't used as much. As more fax machine. You'd have to run if you got an offer, you have to go out to the people's house, get it signed, run it back, fax it over, wait for them to answer. They'd send over a counter. You have to drive back out to your client's house, get it, one initial, come all the way back, initial. Like, it was insane. And I'm like, you guys don't, I feel like, the parents that say, I used to walk to school in the snow. But the game's changed. Luckily for me, as I was getting in right when social media, it was MySpace and stuff, but it wasn't used for business. But over the time, my whole thing is I didn't like, we could talk about this in a minute. I'm rambling on, but I didn't like the fact, that when you get into real estate, it's all about rejection. Most of this, the activities they have you do, which is cold calling, door knocking, all these old school tactics, it's all about rejection. And they come at you with, well, if you're not getting rejected, that's how you learn. The more no's you hear, the closer to a yes and all that. But at the end of the day, when you actually study psychology, it's actually worse for the people to learn that. There's a very few people that can actually take that much rejection without letting them offend them personally or getting to them. That's why there's a huge failure rate. So when I looked at that, man, I was like, I want to create a business. I don't like rejection. I've never had to knock on a door. I've never had a cold call. So I was forced to kind of find my way, find the way or the ways that I can run my business, man, and not get rejected, and I bought into the whole you have to get rejected. Like, I know that was a fact for a while, but now I feel like times have changed. And at least in my business, I want people to have fun. I want my agents to have fun, and I've been saying this for years before I started a team that, I did it for myself. You almost have to create this. First of all, be the best at the best at what you could at your profession. You got to read the most books. You got to pay attention. Without experience, if you don't have experience, at least read about it, listen to other people. And so when I looked at that and I was like, okay, well, first of all, I want to do social media. I want to be entertaining and I want to give value. And how can we create a business without necessarily knocking on doors or getting rejected? And over the time, I just started doing it. And, I started building rapport. I realized open houses, which is probably the oldest tactic that I have my agents use, but there's reasoning behind it. However, again, my goal is to get people to six figures and to do it without rejection. To do it when they're having fun, they're producing content, and it doesn't feel like work, and people come to you because you are giving value, because you're showing what you know, and you're making it fun, and you're showing you're working all the time, that you're obsessed with real estate. By doing that, people gravitate towards you versus chasing them down, and nobody wants to be chased down. We also have a whole thing that I kind of came up with. Everyone talks about ABC, which we all know, always be closing.
Always.
And that's tied to the old school, tactics, which is okay. I get the whole thing. However, I was never that. Even when I was a personal trainer, I never closed people, and they would be like, damn, Jeff, you're a closer. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just give tons of value. Even with training, I just give tons of value, and then people just want to work with me because I'm giving so much value for free.
Let me stop you there, because we're going to get into this. But I want to say something as a comment, right? Because you've dropped a bunch of different funnels that we're going to drill down on right now. And I think now's a good time, because as somebody who's not only one of your best friends, but one of your biggest critics, but also used you professionally, right? And I know a lot of realtors from my business, from friends we have. One thing I'll say is, in the real estate game, like lawyers, there's a lot of slime, a lot of slimy, I have these glasses, and that's how people try to show they're successful in real estate. But then you often tell me, well, you can pull their numbers, they're not necessarily performing at the level you would think, right? And the way they're closing more with mouthpiece or sort of images they're putting out there, like, I have Louis glasses, so therefore I'm the agent you need, right? And you see that more than I do, because that's your industry. But as an outsider, where I see you sort of closing people is exactly that, not trying to close, not that sell mentality, but you're closing people, but you have nice things because you've earned them. They weren't given to you. You didn't come from that. But the fact that you're closing people every day, that I see your content, people see your content and what you're doing, and this dude knows what he's doing. He has knowledge. It's not, it's real life experience that you've earned for 16 years, right? And I think that's something that from an outside, sets you apart from all the other realtors that we see out there trying to do the social media thing or trying to do the advertising space. And I want to talk about getting into real estate, because you didn't start there. You don't come from a family of realtors, right?
Yeah.
So how'd you make that transition from personal training really into real estate?
So it's a good question. I guess it would start from when I bought my first condo at 22. That kind of gave me a taste. Like you said, my family does not come from real estate. We've never owned a house or anything. So I was a trainer. I ended up buying a condo when I was in 2000. I was about 22 years old. I bought my first condo, and I bought it at for $112,000, and within 12 months it was $240,000, and I was like, wow. So I had this initial what everyone gets into it for, oh my God, this just makes money. This makes you rich.
Oh yeah.
And I was a trainer at the gym, and some of my clients were one of my clients, Michael Miller, was a big LO loan officer at the time, doing really well. And another one of my clients, Kent McDowell, who's still my mentor to this day, he was a CPA for a big firm, but they did big investments. They would go out and buy land, do infill projects. They would buy new developments and flip them. They're the ones that bought the 3 penthouses in my building at the Grand. And so what would happen was the guy, Michael Miller, he was like, hey, Jeff, I loved real estate. Never thought about getting into it. And he said, Jeff, if everyone you send me that gets a loan, I'll give you a $100 bill. And so back, I promise you. So back then, I was making, $40,000 a year or something. I was young. I was 23, 24. And he said, everyone you're sending me, none of them have real estate agents, and you're sending me a lot of people. And I was just trying to get the $100, because to me back then, that was a night out drinking. So I was like, $100. And all of a sudden, and I wasn't trying to close them. I was just telling everybody, if you guys are going to buy a house, this is the guy to use. He's the best. And people believed me. So he told me, Jeff, I'm giving all these deals away. You should get your license and help these people find a home. They like you. They talk all good about you. They trust you. Obviously, they're using me. And I was like, okay, why not? And he said, here, I'll show you how to get back then to get the license, it wasn't online. There was a little, I'm not joking, there was a little office in OB down by the pier that was probably 5 feet by 5 feet. There was a woman in there, older woman, that smoked inside the office. And I don't think she was supposed to. And you'd walk in, there was just 3 piles of books behind her. It was ethics, principles, and what was the other one? I don't know, practice. And she would literally grabbed the $3. She'd put her cigarette in her side of her lip and she'd put a rubber band around it. And it was like $112 or whatever. And she'd hand it to you, cash it and left. So I'd go home on my lunch breaks and I would study for these tests and I would take them. And I finally passed. And it was crazy because I was like, oh, let's do this. And at the time, all the trainers back then were all making about a little bit less than me. I was a top trainer at the time. I was like one of the top trainers, but they were all making around the same, between 30 and 35, 40,000 bucks. Well, back then a condo was, I think they were like at about 189 or so, 200,000. And so they can all afford them back then with the low. So my first I remember I was working at One Source Realty. I got my job there because it was between my real estate my house and the gym. I drive by and see it all the time. So I walked in there. They're like, yeah. What I didn't know is that most real estate companies will hire anybody just because it doesn't really cost them anything. And you're just out basically trying to sell homes and get their cut. And they're like, yeah, we'll offer you a job. And I was like, oh my God, like I got my first job. Like, this is crazy. So it was funny because they had a fourth floor and a fifth floor and they had a first floor. The first floor is where you start. And if you get past their six deal program, you get to move upstairs. And I just remember, kind of giving myself shout outs here. I broke the record they'd ever done. And I did 6 deals in like 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I sold to all the personal trainers. They're all like, we want to buy a house. They all saw that I had done it. Yeah. Everyone's like, we want to buy one. So I literally had Mike, and they all knew Michael Miller, my lender client. So they all ran through him. They all got pre-approved. And my first client at the time ever was my buddy Donnie, who's one of my best friends. I still know him. And he bought his first condo, and I just sold 6 within like 4 weeks. I remember the lady downstairs running the thing got so mad at me because she'd come in and I have all my files spread out on the floor. I'm like, Charmaine, help me. And it wasn't digital back then. It was all paper file. And you get this like a legal document with like 72 items that you'd have to turn in.
Oh yeah.
And you weren't allowed to use a transaction coordinator, TC. So you literally had to find all these papers, and they were either in a folder or in a drawer, and you had to find them all and you had to check them all off, see which ones were applicable to your deal. It was a nightmare, man. And I remember she got so mad at me because like I was crushing, and I was just this dude that just started. I had all these deals going, and she's like, if you can't do these, if you don't know how to do your paper, you shouldn't be selling real estate. She got so mad at me. But long story short, it was cool because I did that. I broke through. I remember I broke a record there for the first 6 deals, the fastest. And I knew, I was like, oh, I got this. So I was like training in the mornings. I adjusted my schedule. I would train from 6 a.m. till about noon, go home, change into my suit, and then I would sell real estate from like 1 till 6 at night, do open houses, and do everything I tell these guys to do, minus the social media and video. Because back then, even today, if you want a decent video, it's, back then it was probably $5,000 to have a video made. Today, you can get a decent one made for $500, $600. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And I never looked back, man. I got into real estate. I started selling. I was at One Source Realty, got bought out within a year. I got my broker's license, but that's how I got started. You know me, I'll go off on a rant.
It's good stuff because people don't take the time to look back or understand. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people see you now on your social media, it's blowing up. You're very out there in public about giving value and then teaching. It's a passion. And I've seen you from the first, karate kid that came in here, right? Yeah. I've seen you do it now consistently with handfuls of people, and I've dealt with them at different points, and I see the metamorphosis in them, yeah. Right? It literally is like that Cro-Magnon man, and you see the evolution chart, and it's not disrespectful to these guys, but they come in here looking down, looking confused. They don't know what to do. They're usually lacking a couple things that I think you hit on with them. Mm-hmm. It's a lifestyle, and again, it's another phrase that gets thrown around, but I see it. Like, I'm not in your office as a team member, but I come in here as a friend and I see your team and I see them grow, and they go from this sort of like, oh, I think I want to get to real estate, I don't know, self-doubt talk, to then they start listening to affirmations. They start doing, I don't want to give away everything you put together for them because I know you have that in store for those who really want to take this serious. But I see the metamorphosis from a physical, mental, professional standpoint. And by the end of it, they're standing a little taller. They've closed deals. They're more confident because they put the work in, not only to the profession, but to themselves. Their posture's different, right? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because you found a way. Why would you want to go through the rejection cycle of like, no, 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 no? Why wouldn't you want to go and say, hey, I'm going to go focus on 10 things right now with a better success rate, rather than I'm going to go try to focus on 20 things knowing that I'm wasting my time with 15 of those just because I need to hear the word no. Right? So when did you know, I guess is a good question, if you can pinpoint, when did you know that, one, you were doing things different as, you know, coming back into the market, let's say after the crash, when did you know that you did things different than even other successful agents that people are out there, and that you could pass those skills on in sort of a system style way to other people that were willing to put in the work?
So it's a two-pronger. The first part of it was myself. You know, it's funny because I look back, and I mean, you've known me for a long time. You've seen I've had billboards. I've had commercials on TV. Yep. I've always wanted to be out there. And I don't know if it was some sort of like...
BettyEdit.com.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't know if it was just, I don't know, maybe it was a form of narcissism or something, but I just feel like advertising, I always wanted people to see me and want to call me. So and it's funny in retrospect, looking back, you know, I was always doing weird stuff. I was always reading books, which most people weren't doing. I was always locked myself in. I time blocked because I always knew I had to get my stuff done. Then I can go have fun. But like the marketing aspect, I think is, you know, my wrapped truck and all these crazy things I did over years that people always want my flyering. Even from day one, man, I always have I started my flyering. I was always about marketing. And I knew I was different just because people would always tell me when I would see them, you know, I'm like, dude, your truck, you're this, you're that. And I knew marketing was one thing. And that's when I kind of thought like, oh, I'm doing my own thing. And then once I started realizing that marketing was my thing, I really went all in on it, you know, and I just started really doing it and always finding new ways to push it, you know, to be in the marketing space. Because again, I didn't want to get rejected. You know, in every real estate company you go to still today that you'll walk in, they'll go knock on 20 doors, pick a neighborhood, all this old school stuff. And I used to, you know, be in an office with 280 agents at Keller Williams. And you would see a lot of the people just confused, and you would see them come and go, revolving door, and you would just see it.
That's crazy talk. As an outsider, as a guy who's bought and sold real estate, you know, a number of times with you here, if somebody knocked on my door, and I get that there's a small chance that you're doing a deal next door and just say, hey, just thought I'd reach out because I'm in the neighborhood. I get that type of like suggestive selling, but that's usually different than the straight door knocking. If someone came to my door with a high purchase, usually the biggest investment an individual or family will make in their life, some random person off the street is going to come to your door nowadays with the information available online and other mediums. I don't know how I would take that, but I don't think it would be very positive. Like I'd say, oh, you're right. I have $750,000 I'm going to put into a property, and this random guy who just showed up, who I have no idea who you are or anything about you, that's my guy.
Yeah, and well, I'm back. So it's 1,000% correct. You know, technology plays a huge role in it. But like 30 years ago, that was normal because how else would you call? You know, you either cold call, you'd call people in their home, or you'd show up to their door. That's how you got in front of them. Or because most people couldn't afford $10,000 a week to run a commercial. Yeah. So it worked back then, and back then it was normal. Someone knocking your door, you're almost happy. It's also like you were getting an email or a text or a Facebook, you almost got happy. But now you're 100% right. With millennials, with technology, with social media, and 100 different ways to communicate on your phone, if someone knocks on your door, it's almost like, get down, turn the lights off. You know what I mean? Who is it? It's almost, you don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
But they still push it. And I tell people, you're going to go and knock on 100 doors. I guarantee there might be that one, I don't know, older person that maybe is happy to see you because they're lonely. But for the most part, most people are like, dude, leave me alone. Like, and so with technology, and I've done my research, I've asked millions, I've asked people, they're like, no, don't knock on my door. And I know me, like if you pay attention to how you feel, you just hit the nail on the head with you. I know if I'm at my house and I come home and I lock my door, that's my little like space. Every time I get knocked on the door, I'm like, oh, who's here? How'd they get to my, like, who is it? Like, you think bad.
Yeah, did I get a missed call? Did my security call me? Did I miss somebody?
Or you think it's the police. I mean, anything. You just don't know because most people don't knock on doors. So my thing is if I was at home, first of all, I'm only at home because I'm off of work. Now, if I'm off of work, I don't want to be bothered because that's my either family time or my own alone time, or I just want to chill. So when someone knocks on my door, even if I'm home and I'm not doing anything, I don't want to sit there and talk to them like you said I know nothing about them. So with today, you can literally reverse that. And if you are trying to go after someone, first of all, there's so many different ways. There's tracing. You could find the person. I mean, it's just probably as creepy, but it's a lot easier because it's accepted. You know, you can go on there. I can say, okay, who owns 123 B Street? I can Google the address and title. I can find the owner, find them on social media if I really want, friend them, and go, hey, I'm a local real estate agent, and go that way. And that's way more accepted. But like, oh, how's it going to actually own a house at 123 B Street? You're like, no, get out of here. So you can,
no way.
You can backdoor them like that. Or like you said, you could just put out content to separate yourself. So many people are scared. I mean, I think this goes for any business. We were just talking about this before. To see themselves, they're scared to put it out. They're scared to do that.
What are my peers going to say when you're doing something different, right?
Oh, and that's still the case with like my agents. You know, it takes time to get them in. And when you start really breaking it down, it's like nobody cares. Like if if I went on right now and I had a booger hanging on my nose and I don't know, a big whitehead on my nose, on the tip of my nose too, you'd see it, but like a week later, you'd forget about it. And if you saw me in the streets and it was all gone, you'd be like, hey, Jeff, what up? You'd forget about it. I said, so nobody gives a shit. Like, nobody cares about your good side or you're this or you're that. They care about what you say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you get on there and you start just cutting through all the crap and you actually get on there and say really good, valuable information that people want to hear, they don't care about that. So that's the challenge, is trying to get these people in front of a camera. And then more importantly, though, the reason a lot of times they're scared too, because they don't know what to say. They're insecure about their knowledge base.
100%. They
You know
don't
what
want
I'm
to,
saying?
or they think they know, but they're not sure, and they don't want to say something wrong because then I put it out there and I look like an idiot.
Yes. And there's that threshold you cross through that I mean, even when I started pumping tons of video, I was a little nervous at first, like, oh God, what if I look? But then you get to that point where you really, I mean, I've heard it over and over, like nobody cares, Jeff. They don't care about your good side, your bad side, your skid. They don't care about anything as long as you're spitting fire, like as long as you have good content. And so once I started doing that and I just started dropping stuff and seeing the reaction, it makes it easier. Now, I mean, now I'm like addicted to just giving value because people love it and they enjoy it. And I'm getting so many DMs and clients now, and I show my agents, I'm like, this is what you want to do. Look at my DM. They're like, how do you do all these deals? I'm like, they're like, you never don't open houses anymore. You don't do that. I'm like, well, I've done them for 15, 16 years. Now I have a database and I give so much value and content that people just want to work with me because they see it's like an open book. They get to see what they're about. Like when you knock on your door and they see you, this could be your first deal ever in your life. And most sellers aren't going to ask you that. You're just going to be like, oh, hey, but at least, or they're not going to be able to ask you, most sellers aren't going to be like, oh, so tell us about yourself and all the knowledge you know and everything. They're not going to ask that. But if they can go on your social media, your YouTube or whatever it may be, and they can find your information and they can just kind of preview, which they're going to do. We all know what we do. We know what we do. So I just follow what I do. If someone says, oh, if I'm looking for somewhere to get my tires, and they go, oh, this place, I'm going to go on IG just like everyone else. I'm going to find them. I'm going to Google them. I'm going to do everything I can to find out as much. If a new agent's like, if you call me and go, hey, Jeff, I got this guy I met. Seems like he's a good dude getting into real estate. I think I only met him for a few minutes, but he seems cool. First thing I always say is, what's his name?
Yeah.
John. John what? I don't know. Hold on. Let me get it. John Smith. Cool. Obviously, it'd be John Smith, there'd be 1,000, but I go on Instagram right away, John Smith. I find them, I Google them, I find everything about them I can. I look at their IG, I scroll through their page. I want to see what are they doing, who's this about? Because if you look at someone's social, you can get a snapshot fairly quickly about what they do, what their priorities are, what their values are, what they're obsessed with. And that's what I do. I can go right away and I can look at that. And if they're partying out, doing all these things, I still doesn't mean I'll just reject them, but then it gives me a basis to what questions I have to ask them. I want to see where they're at and if they're even open to changing. If they come and go, oh, I like partying. I was out last night. Sorry, my eyes are a little. I'm like, ooh, like that. You're probably not the best fit. Maybe you should go somewhere else because I take my shit serious. Like I take the team very serious. I have goals for them. I know exactly what they need to do. So again, social media, it's just proof, and it allows people to gain their their view of your credibility and like what they think of you. And more importantly, like they want to know that you know, but they also want to know they like you. So they want to see that you're going to be cool with them. You know what I mean? Like if you had all these other agents come to you and then all of a sudden I roll up and I'm wearing Yeezys, I'm like, oh, what up, bro? Dude, your car's all roll that. And we start hitting it off. We build rapport. You're probably, that's going to get me in quick. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So then we'll start talking and you'll be like, oh, now this guy, he knows what he's talking about. We did that thing. It's kind of the reason we're doing our podcast like this. And we're breaking out into the social space is that whole like the two-step thing. There's two ways of judging someone that most people do. It's either what you look or what you say, how you look or what you say. You know what I mean? And so
super true,
right? So I only caught this up like the last couple of years, dude. That like I read a lot of books, but that it only hit me a couple years ago that like that's very important. That because I was paying attention to when I hear people speak, like you're a good example. You could be dressed like this, but I'll hear you speak, and it's just very sharp and unquestionable. Like it's just, and that's what I'm like, ooh, that's like when you see a lot of times when I see smart, crazy CEOs or people that are fucking brilliant, they'll be dressed down. I always joke about it, but they'll have the Costco shoes on, they'll have the Costco jeans on, and they start talking, and you're like, oh, shoot. Or you'll see the dudes, and we've mentioned some other like attorneys that dress to nine and they roll around in helicopters and all this, and they open their mouth, and you're like, what are you doing? Are you an actor? So like, I didn't want to be that dude, and for the first 15 years of my career, man, I wore a suit every day. I was 3-suited. I mean, and you don't really have to in real estate. Like your profession, you pretty much have to wear a suit.
Absolutely.
In real estate, it used to be, but now with real estate, you're out running around, everything. It's not as, and it's very common to see someone dressed normally, and then especially when you cross over that threshold and your mouth, what you say is more powerful than how you look. That's when people listen, and then if I put out, the cool thing about socials, I could put out these videos with my tattoo showing or in a hoodie or whatever. And when I'm speaking on real estate, like people know, you could just, they hear me speak and they're like, dude, this dude's serious. Like this dude knows his shit.
You're in your space. And I think another thing, and you talked about it, you had a podcast not too long ago, maybe with Dr. Fabi, I think it came up, and it was one of your recent posts, right? Not just shouting you out because people should follow you anyways, but a big thing with the social media space and figuring out what people are about, as well as who they're going to be and how they're going to be, is the authenticity of it. Because if someone knows John Smith comes in here for a job interview, he's going to dress whatever he thinks he needs to wear or has been told he needs to wear for my job interview. He's going to have one of those portfolios that's not even useful and outdated. But and I'm not judging him because maybe that's all he has, but I'm just saying, like, unless he's really comfortable at carrying that thing, it's always awkward and someone walks in with it like, they're holding a diary, or it's just weird. I've never seen it really play well in an actual professional setting. It's more of like a crutch. They're holding it. I've interviewed people. They're talking to them.
Trying to look the part. Yeah.
Right? But then you on their IG and the dude's got his shirt off and he's taking tequila shots and like, what's he really about? And they're not judging, but you can really see like, wait a minute, like, okay. And this dude's a real person. If someone just sees one side of that, we're all multifaceted, I think it just helps complete the picture. And there's more of a social acceptance to, when I go home, I'm not the same guy. I mean, I am, but I'm not the same guy when my client hires me and I'm arguing a motion in court, or I'm at a trial, or I'm at sentencing, because that attitude doesn't play in my house. My kids look at me like I'm crazy. My wife is like, all of a sudden she became the judge. She'll check me real quick. Yeah. She'll bang the gavel right away. But it's like, people are multifaceted and you can't separate the two. But I think it's a great way for people to understand that if you work on this and your heart and your gut's pure, then you can present yourself. You'll earn that credibility. I didn't dress like this day one. I'm in a suit every day. Coronavirus has made it so I don't have to be, because I do things virtually now. With jails, meetings, court, everything shut down. But it takes a level of confidence. But that whole time I was rather being overdressed in a suit, I was working on my mind to make sure 100%. That people knew, like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's not just a pretty face or a nice suit or whatever, a flashy car. You know what I mean? And I think that's huge. And seeing the way that you are a testament to that belief. You were one of the first people in my life, and I mean this, to give me a book as a birthday present. I think the first one you gave me was a Brian Tracy book, which I still have. But, and I valued it, and I read it, and I still have it, and I know where to put the X now. And I get it. But you weren't bragging about that, or you weren't advertising that part of who you were, especially during that phase in our life when we were going out and having fun, and the market was in flux, and everyone was trying to figure out how's this thing going to go and where we're going to do it. But you should be a testament to the people, like your agents that come in. They should find hope in the real estate market that, shit, I can buy in. This guy's done it. He doesn't have daddy gave him the real estate license. He doesn't have that. He's been here for 16 years. Obviously, he's achieved success. To me, that seems so easy to come in here and know I can tune everything else out. And if I do what I'm expected to do or told to do by following your example, the rewards will come. Right? Like, to me, because what that comes to me is that you have control. That person then has control. A lot of the learning they're going to have to do on their own, but you've narrowed the amount of possible routes they should take to success to, like, here's a blueprint, follow this, be better than you were yesterday, and you can get there. Right? More or less, in a nutshell, that's what you're doing with these agents, that you see them pop up and you can follow their deals and they're growing.
Because I've done it, and that's my whole thing is like, and that's why I started doing it again in the last like 6 months. My thing is, I know where I come from. I know that my upbringing, I know my brothers, I know what's happening. I know that I'm probably, in terms of like an underdog or overcoming adversity, I know I have most people beat, you know what I mean? So then I'm like, wait a minute. So I graduated high school. That's cool. I got my associate's degree. That's not worth much. But like when I started reading and actually self-educating and becoming an autodidact, I that's when I started seeing the doors open, you know what I mean? And I started learning and I started paying attention. Obviously, I always tell you, the more books I read, the more dots I can connect, you know? And when people come here, I think the office obviously helps me now, and I've always had numbers to back me. But for the most part, you know, like you said, I would dress the part because I want them to believe me and accept me. I think one of the problems some people may have for me when they first see me is, you know, with real estate, like with attorneys, you expect the guy that's running it or the broker to be this, you know, guy named Jim that's wearing a suit every day and like doesn't do anything and so when they come in, they see me, if I'm dressed like in a hoodie and jeans and stuff, and I'm, you know, that I think sometimes if people are like, oh, does this really guy? But when they cut now though, that I've started doing, so with my agents, I started teaching them. I started the team about 4 years ago, and you know, there was this transfer when it was not about me anymore, but it was about my team and making sure they got, like my kids, making sure they got good. Well, the problem with that I saw at the beginning was, I didn't see it at the beginning. I started doing it, I was telling them how to do everything. Like, you gotta do this, it works. And without them seeing it, they were just kind of like, and I still had success with my agents. However, I could see there was a missing link where they would kind of do it, but they kind of wouldn't. And like, oh, it's easy for you to tell us. And I could show them the pictures of me doing open houses with my truck out and everything back in the day. And that was one thing. But then I started telling them to do video. I'm like, you guys, video's the next thing. You have to push content. You got to show these people. And I was helping them do video, but it was like, I don't want to do video. I don't like video. Or they wouldn't do it. And I would just keep telling. And finally, I opened this office, and I finally was like, you know what? I'm not going to keep pushing because, you know, you can only get so far with pushing. And I'm like, I'm just going to set the example and do it. Hence, now on my social media, you know what I mean? I'm blowing my IG up. I started my podcast. I'm doing everything that I've been telling them to do just so I can push them again. Because before, it was my numbers spoke for themselves. I've been doing it forever. I have a good name in the real estate industry, so people would know. But when they're coming in at first, and I tell people off top, I focus on 3 things. You know, we focus on social media, your database, your past clients, your current friends and family and associates, or past coworkers, and your open houses. You know what I mean? These are 3 ways that you can actually be visible, show your professionalism, and people come to you versus going after them. So I think that as long as they listen, and the problem is they come in, they think there's 100 ways, you know, you get into it, you're excited, you got license, you think you're gonna make all this money and do all well. And there are a lot of angles that people come at you with, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And I see it. My newest agent, it's funny. It takes about 6 months. They want to do, how do I do this? How do I do this? I want to work with these people. I want to do this. And I'm like, whoa. And then for me to sit there and tell them, just do these 3 things, they're just like, there has to be more. I'm like, no, stop. Like, when you're not doing these things, you're learning, you're reading. And most people, I'm not even joking, it's baffling, is 9 out of 10 people that walk through the door or that I meet in general, when I ask them if they read, most of them haven't read since high school. You know what I mean? Or they haven't read since college, or they haven't read since they were forced to, you know what I mean? Or they'll flip through magazines, you know? So that's when I think it's hard for people. Like, I tell them they need to read a minimum 1 book a month. Preferably they'll get up once they build that mind muscle up to 3. And I teach them, that's why you're not confident in a lot of the stuff you do, because you only got X, you know what I mean? You're basically a computer program. You're a computer that just came out of Best Buy that has 1 or 2 different programs on it. And what I'm telling you to do is download 1,000 programs so you're the most valuable computer in the city. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. And they're like, what do you mean? I don't read books. So I always start off with easy books, and it's still hard. It takes time to realize the power of it until you start, you know, I notice it when I slow down on reading because I'm busy. The way I speak changes, everything changes. So I do push those things, and it takes, sometimes they start seeing me do it. And then I love when they see my tattoos and everything, and they start learning about who I really am, because I use it, I mean, not to be a dick, but I throw it in their face sometimes. Like, dude, look at me. I'm this dude with like crazy brothers in prison. I got tats up. I've done all this with all these tats. Like, I've done everything you see, this office, everything looking like this. Yeah. So I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody. Like, I come from a trailer park. This is my background. I didn't go to college. I didn't do shit. But I taught myself what I needed to know. You know what I mean? And so it gives really no excuses, man, at that point, for anyone.
You didn't settle, and you have drive, and you know, even when you were, you know, you said it earlier about being a narcissist, want to hear out there. What I hear in that is that you knew you wanted to be more. You didn't want to be Jim with the clipboard, with a farmer's sign or a Century 21 thing, just sitting there, because you could probably make a decent living like that, just doing what everyone else did. But I think you knew deep down, like, I got my own style. I need to do something more. The vision in your head is bigger than what you could ever achieve just following that path.
And
right?
I tried that path, but it never felt like really right.
Wasn't aligned,
yeah,
right?
It wasn't aligned. And then like I'd go out and I'm like, oh no, I'd be nervous to go outside sometimes on weekends because I'm like, what if my clients see me?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I know. What if my clients? Oh my god, what if my clients? And it takes a real level of comfortability with what you do, and just understanding that you know more than 99.9% of all the other people in your space out there, and there's a confidence that comes learning and doing all these things, and it is tough though, man, because like I said, I was doing that. I was wearing the suit, and I liked it. Don't get me wrong. You like wearing your suit.
Yep.
I like wearing my suit. At the end of the day, though, when I couldn't wait to get home and take it off and throw my freaking J's on or my like Yeezys on and go into my thing. And I'm not saying I show up in gym clothes or anything. I still have massive respect for my clients. If I go on a new appointment, I show up in either a really nice fitted sweater, my loafers on, or a suit I will put on. But for the most part, most of my business it's just funny because most of my business is referral business, but people respect me more. Like I show up in, I've showed up in a hoodie and jeans to a listing appointment, and I talk to them. They're like, oh, we've met with 3 people. We got 2 more to go. I'm like, okay. And then I just start talking to them and I'll be there for an hour and a half. And by the end of it, they're like, I'm not even interviewing anyone else. You've already told us more than the last 3 agents have told us. And you obviously know what you're doing. So we're going to cancel the other appointments. We're going with you. And I'll be dressed like this, and that's why I learned the power of the mouthpiece. Yeah.
And it's real. And I don't want people to misunderstand what you said. Confidently when you sit here today, 99.9% more than other people, not because you came out from day one out the gate being a smart ass and a know-it-all, but because for 17 years, every day you're either reading or listening to an audiobook or watching something informative. You're not Real Housewives of San Diego or whatever. I don't even know if that's one of the versions yet because I don't watch TV. But that's why. And for those that are starting out, I think they need to do what you told me. And you've suggested everyone else, find a mentor, know what you don't know, constant learning, but don't be afraid to ask questions because there's other people that want to come out and be the man real quick before they've ever put in the work to be the man, and you don't start out day one from the man. It's through hard work, not settling and doing the hard stuff or the stuff that doesn't get you the reward right away, right? Like how many open houses, I don't know the numbers, but you usually don't get a client and close a deal right away from your first open house. I mean, it
takes
but
time, yeah.
You spend how many afternoons at these properties where it's usually not even your listing, but you're holding it open for someone else who's going to make that commission and the hope that you get a lead, right? And then you can show that person some properties. We're going to continue this conversation for sure, but I want to wrap up with a couple quick things. One, if you can give us a preview of like a morning routine that you have, which is something that more people need to build into their life, regardless of what they have going on, is just taking the control, at least the start and the end of their day. But I think an example of your morning routine, and then secondarily, I want to know, because you don't settle and you've come so far, you're building this team, they're growing, social media's popping, you've built a ridiculous office that's clearly different than any office, let alone real estate office I've ever been in, and I love it. What's next, right? You're not settling, you're not done. So tell me your morning routine, then give us a preview of what's next.
All right, I'll try to get through this quick so we're not here all day. So my morning routine, it's pretty crazy. I get up between 3:30 and 4, and the reason I say between 3:30 and 4 is because I don't wake up to alarm. It's just kind of like, depending on how late I stay up, is when I'll wake up, but it's usually never past 4. That's late. If it's like 5, I feel like I slept in and lost half the day. So I wake up. I naturally just wake up. It's usually about 3:37, 3:40 something, somewhere in there. And the first thing I do, and a lot of people say don't touch your phone, but I grab my phone, I go to YouTube, and I put on motivational. So I'll lay in my bed for about 7 to 8 minutes, listening to motivational and being grateful, just going through my head like, okay, everyone wakes up typically worried about problems or bill. I wake up and I go, okay, you're healthy, no pain, you have a cool business, you have money in the bank, you could pay your bills and you could feed yourself. I just kind of think about some of the stuff. I'm grateful for my friends, my family, everyone that cares. And I listen to the motivational because the first thing you listen to in the morning, and the reason they tell you not to check your phones, because if you check a bad email, and it'll set your day. It'll set your tone. If you wake up and your wife comes in and says something like damn it, Jason, why'd you leave it? It literally, without subconsciously, will kind of ruin your day for the day. You know what I mean? It'll put you in a weird funk. So I've learned that and I've studied it. So my whole thing is like, I get up, first thing I put that on, I'm grateful, I put on my motivational. I get up, I put my gym clothes on, which I always have next to my bed. I put my gym clothes on right away, at least from my waist down. I'm probably shirtless. I go out and I set my, it's all about setting up your environment. So right when I walk out to my island, I turn all my lights on. I go out on my balcony, which everyone has probably seen. If you follow me, I do my morning little story thing. Sometimes I do it after I forget, but usually I'll do it sometimes in the morning. If it's later, like at 5 or 30 or 6, it's because I've already done my routine. So I do that. I do my little thing, check in basically for public accountability. I go back. I write my goals. So I write all my goals and affirmations out, and I drink my pre-workout drink. Once I'm done with all my goals, especially right now in the quarantine, typically I would go to I'm going to tell my quarantine one. So once I'm done writing my goals, I open my book and I read 2 pages, and then in between I flip the channel, I take a swig of my pre-workout, I do 50 push-ups. And then I come back up and I read 2 more pages. When I flip the page, I drink my drink, 50 push-ups. And I do this for between 15 and 20 pages, depending on how dense the book is. Once I'm done with that, I'll down a glass of water and then I'll play piano. And I'll play piano for like 20 to 30 minutes. And at that time I'm going, my energy is good. My push-ups are done. I got blood circulating.
Yeah. I'm pumped right now just to listen to you. I'm like, all right, let's go.
And then when I'm done with that, I go and I put on my weight vest and I go down to the P3 in my building and I do the whole steps. If I'm not doing that, I go to the convention centers, but I've been getting in the office early. So I'll just go out. I live in a 40-story building. I put on my 50-pound weight vest. I go to the bottom and I freaking lunge all the way up to the top of it, come back. I'm sweating like crazy. I'm really going at that point. I go in, I drink 1 more glass of water, take all my vitamins, shower, come out, eat some fruit, and then come to the office.
That's a morning.
Yeah, and that's every day. That's every day, whether it's my birthday, Christmas, holidays, anything.
We're going to talk about that in the next show because your mindset, I 100% believe in that with respect to why it's an everyday and not like a sliding scale 3 to 5 day, because it just doesn't work for most people. I don't want to get into that now because we'll go on forever.
Show, yeah.
But yeah, we're having you back. So
as far as where I'm going, that's your next question.
Yeah, but I want to make sure people understand that that's morning. That's not the end of the day. That's not his total day. That's morning. And he has this much energy because of that.
It's
right?
set up for success. You got to set up for success, man. That's the biggest thing. You got to set your day for success.
You woke up, you started with gratitude. You worked on your physical self, in between working on your mental self, and then back to nutrition with some more vitamins, and then you work on the cardiovascular health, get those glutes right, so when the beaches reopen, baby, sun's out, buns out.
Yes.
Dish is going to be there.
Yeah.
So then after you've done that, you get your holistic workout in, then you're ready to lead your team with a charge. And where are we going next? You're not settling here. I know it's not
man.
the end. So what's next?
Tony Robbins says, the key to happiness is progress, Max and I were having a conversation about this yesterday. So I'm always trying to plan for something newer and bigger. I just like to be surprised. If not, I'll feel myself start getting complacent and bored. And I'm like, and everyone's like, but you got this office, you don't. I'm like, yeah, but like I have to always, and I know you're the same way. I got to always be pushing myself, dude. So what's next? I'm obviously blowing my podcast up. I'm working on some big guests there. But what I've realized is I love selling homes, but now what I really, really like is training and coaching and reproducing people. So it's going to sound all like, but I like seeing people once they come to me and they came from a normal, $35,000, $40,000 job when they were kind of not happy living check to check. I like teaching them how not only just to become a better person or better version of themselves, dude, which I love by incorporating all that, getting into that morning routine. But I like seeing them when they do get those first checks and they're like, ooh, the opportunities, that they get to take out their family, they get to do these things. I love seeing that. And now that I have a track record of doing this with agents that actually listen to me, my next thing is we're working on a seminar right now where I'm going to teach agents that really want to do it. And again, even though I train them, like you were saying, how do you get them to, they're still out of every, I have 9 agents. 5 of them right now are on track in their first 12 months right now of real estate to hit 6 figures in income.
Even with the Rona.
With Rona, all that. And there are 5 of them. The other 4 that are on my team, it's because 2 of them are part-time, they have other jobs, and the other 2 have families they don't want to leave because of Corona. And I get it, that's all good. But the ones that come in are all on track, and they're literally, my first year agents are doing better than most tenure agents in real estate, you know?
And I've seen it.
Yeah. And that's what I like, dude. That for me is like hype. So now what I'm doing is I have my own team. They're responsible with me. They're obviously going to do their numbers, but I want to be able to spread that word. Now that I know it could work, you know, I want to push it out. I want to teach it to a lot more people. And it's what I like doing. I like seeing the lights go off. I like seeing the aha moments. I like seeing what you said when you first see them and they're just kind of like deer in headlights, and you come back 3 months later and they're confident. Hey, Jason, what's up? And you're
cracking
like, what the hell
jokes.
happened to you? Yeah, they're cracking jokes.
Yeah.
They got deals going. There's a little pep in their step.
Yep.
I love that. You know, I love seeing people like, I just know it. I like, in my whole thing, I always tell people get 1% better every day. And I like seeing that. And I like, you know, that's where I want to go. I'm obviously building this office out. I can see myself traveling and literally taking people that are serious about it. And I even know that if I find 100 people that all say they want to do it, because I'm good at motivating people and getting them all rah-rahed up and ready to rock and change their lives. But when it comes down to the work and the discipline and the habit base, it's like, it is hard for people because it's a complete 180 turn from what they're typically used to. You know, when I tell people they should be getting up at 4 a.m, they're like, are you crazy? You know, but it's funny. They all come to me like, dude, there's no way I get up at 6:30. That's crazy for me. And I remember 5 years ago, bro, BNI was at 7 and me getting up at 6 was insane. I was like, oh my God. I
Go back farther than that, man. You were a full-on preacher. Like, yeah, you're crazy, man. I'm not a morning person.
I'm not.
You would get it in at the night.
Yep.
You would still getting your stuff done. Like, it's not like you went from unsuccessful to successful. It was just a different schedule. And now you are like a testament every day with a social accountability of like,
yes.
You stick to your morning routine and it sets your intentions for the entire day.
That's
and
it.
then you have a nighttime routine that we can focus on later. But you do truly lead by example with these people.
And that's the thing is when I can get them to do that, there's a girl on the team, DJ, and she's like, there's no way, like, you're not going to get me waking up at 6 in the morning. There's just no way. 5, you're tripping. And now she gets up at 4 in the morning. And I when I explain why, there's no distraction, all these benefits. And she finally got it. She's like, I don't know, just you in my ear, and you motivated me to start trying it. She's like, and I do it now. You're so right. She has 2 kids, and she's like, I get up, I write all this stuff out. It's so quiet in the house. My phone's not going off. My kids aren't pulling on me. And she's like, I can think, I can plan out my day, I can work on stuff I've wanted to work on. I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's insane. And it's still hard for her. You know, it's still hard. She's like, I'm like, you got to program yourself. It takes 66 days to create a habit and make yourself, you know, like brush your teeth or whatever. But they see the benefits, dude. All of them, everyone on my team, once they start going, they start seeing what's happening. They catch on. We're on a group text. Before you know it, within a month or two, they're all getting up, you know, 4 a.m. Bing, everyone's checking in. So
I see it too. So if they ever down themselves, they can come talk to me because you know I give them straight. Every one of your team members. It might cost you a couple, but you know what I mean?
But still, like they
should hear it because I see the difference. I can probably go through your team and tell you who's doing what.
Yeah.
Just because I see it.
I can't, and that's the thing. When I see them doing it, I'm like, ooh, and I'll tell them right off. When I'm my team meeting, I'm very blunt. I'm very open about everything. I'll be like, I'll tell you right now, they're all sitting in front of me. I said, the only one that's doing it here, the only couple is Max is doing it 95%, probably even 100 almost now. You're doing it X, you're doing it X, you're doing it X, you're doing X. And it shows in their numbers. Like literally I can see in their physical appearance, in the way they're speaking, in their paychecks, in their lifestyle, I can see who's following what we're supposed to be doing and who's not and who's 10%, 5%, you know, and the ones that aren't following it and still living off their own little like default lifestyle where they think is right and no one's telling them what to do. They're not making money. They're complaining all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm perfect or I've always been like this. I've been the sleeping guy, the party at night till, you know, and getting up hangovers and bad diets and all that. So I get how hard it is to change. But it's just funny because I can see the people that actually have the best disciplines and habits are the ones that succeed. And so if I can get that in all my guys, and then I get calls, the coolest thing too is, you know, the wives or the husbands or whoever it is, they're like, Jeff, what have you done? Like they're up, they're nicer, they're up in the morning, they're helping, they're doing all these things, and they're just like, they're so much more disciplined. They're getting shit done around the house they never did. They're giving us more opportunity. They're making more money, and that to me it's cool, man. It's like that's where I want to go now. And now that I have it, I'm writing a book. That's another thing I'm doing is I'm writing a book about how agents can go from 0 to 6 figures in their first 12 months. Doing seminars on it, writing a book right now that's going to be really good. I'm kind of incorporating some of my habits and disciplines in it. And I've always wanted to write a book, so I know this one's going to be really good, and I'll probably write more after that. So
it's exciting stuff, man. Everybody stay tuned. Before we wrap up, where can they find you?
They can find me in a lot of places. My key, the IG, I Sell Real Estate. I got one of the best handles for real estate out there. So I Sell Real Estate. Go to my podcast. There's a difference on Anchor, or we're both on the same iTunes, Spotify. They're all those out there. My YouTube channel, Jeff Discher. Facebook, obviously, I'm on Facebook as Jeff Discher, and also be sure to follow the Discher Group. You can see kind of what we're doing, our business, and follow everyone on there. You can see that they do follow the same habits as well.
Yeah, and look forward to those team trips when the Rona's out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But thank you so much. You've been a great guest. Hope to have you back soon, and appreciate your time, man. Keep doing it.
Thanks, brother.
Never settle.